Today I am going to narrate to you an experience. A story about ghosts, not of people but places that do not let you leave. Hello, I am Karthik and you're listening to Growing Up Gone Wrong. And just to let you guys know that I'm really serious about this podcast, I'm back again with yet another episode. And in this episode, we are going to talk about one of my experiences of traveling, like when I was traveling this year. 2023 has been wild and I have traveled to a lot of places, a lot more than last year. And I had tons and gazillions worth of experiences and memories. But this 1 week from the month of July has just stayed with me forever. And I might not even have come out alive of that situation, of that week. But now that I am, it really feels truly special to be a part of that. To be a part of what happened in that 1 week of my life in Shoja, of Himachal Pradesh. So this is of time and it was first week in July, I think. And I was backpacking through Shoja, Jibi and Jalori. It started raining and it never stopped. It almost felt like it was raining constantly for months. For the 2 to 3 weeks that I was there, it had rained for at least a minimum of 11 days constantly. Of course, it stopped in the middle for a couple of hours or one day and it'll just start again and rain for 3 more days. And due to that, the river Bias was overflown with water and there were floods in all the areas and cities around it, and a lot of roads were broken and a lot of roads it almost felt like they never existed. We were totally stuck in the middle of that valley of Himachal, which a lot of people do not even recognize the name of. To the left, if we went, the roads did not exist anymore. To the right, if we go, there were landslides, there were floods, and you were only just going to dive into a total destruction on either side. And at once, at first initially, when we were staying in that village in Shoja, we never really felt stuck. At first, nobody felt stuck. It almost felt like a detox that nature had provided you. And you did not really have to deactivate your Instagram for that. There was no internet, there was no connectivity of any sort, there was no electricity, and you could not directly communicate with anybody outside Shoja. Yes, you could just walk to 7 to 10 kilometers and go down and maybe visit people from other villages, but the main point through which we had to come back home was blocked. It was completely flooded and there was practically no way for us to get out, and we had to spend a couple of weeks in Shoja with no internet. Can you imagine? I went there for vacation and my boss was probably cursing me at that point, and because I had disappeared totally. So it was a really strange experience, and I did not care what my office deadlines are. I did not care what anyone would say where I am. At first, nothing of that sort struck me. It was totally a pure bliss because I was totally away from everybody. But after a while, the fear started creeping in because you have to call your mom at night at 7 every day to give updates of where you are and send her pictures, and she'd be waiting. So all of those things, family related connections that we already had in our lives from the cities that we all belong to, those started to occupy our minds. And that is when the fear crept in. And that is when the real experience of my life began. On a regular day in that week, there was nothing we could do really. All we did was play games. The amount of card games that I have learned in that span of 2 weeks is insane. Whenever I go to a new different place while traveling in Himachal or anywhere, I always have that with me now. I always know the card games, the right kind of games to play, to engage people, to form a community and connect with people. I used to think I am an introvert, or maybe not anymore. Before, I used to think that I find it difficult to connect with people because maybe I was not interesting. I was uninteresting. I did not have any stories. But during that 1 week, when nobody had any internet connections, nobody was talking about anything happening outside of Shoja, because there was no internet connection and there was no news of outside, what was happening outside, which football match was going on right now, who all went to that club, or any sort of gossips from the cities. They were not reaching our ears, and yet somehow we managed to communicate through real conversations. Like, nobody cared how many followers you got on Instagram. Nobody cared what you do for the weekends. But what all that mattered was every single thing in that moment. And that is when I really built true connections. And that is where I knew that I am capable of social interactions. Like, what a relief. Like, my mom was really getting worried about me because I did not really go anywhere. Wherever I went solo. When I had traveled, I went solo. So she was really getting worried about me. But in shows, I found a sense of community, a sense of home. Every single morning, I woke up and went to Ghar. Ghar is the name of the cafe there. So you can really imagine how homely it looked there. So I went there and we all used to have breakfast together. All 15 to 20 people had breakfast together. I have not been used to that ever since I was like 5. I eat alone in my room watching some sitcom. So from that to this experience, it was totally unimaginable. And I was cherishing every single moment of it. Deep down, everybody was scared. They knew like we could be stuck here for weeks and maybe months if things go worse, which didn't, but it could happen. Like in that moment, everybody had their minds unoccupied and everybody else was thinking about the same thing. But even in the moment like those, I found a real home. I really found a sensation of being alive. Like, it was the best thing that could ever happen to me. Like, people were really cursing me at one point when I told that this is a really good thing that is happening to us because we are together and we really built good connections and we are on a nature's detox. But was I really wrong? Like, other than the fact that you were not able to, like, we guys were not able to really communicate with our family, was there anything really bad about that? But yeah, it is totally valid. Their emotions were totally valid, and the fear, the impatience of going home, every single thing was totally valid. Let us try to form the picture of a common room now, okay? A small house-like structure. It does not seem like a hotel or a cafeteria actually. It just seems like a small homely house who serves as a cafe for people like us, for travelers and vagabonds. There are hand-carved and raw wooden tables, a chaotic little dog called Machli, and the color of walls were lifeless pink. It was not that bright, but it was lighter in shade. And now add a couple dozen people, all afraid, most of them quiet and unoccupied with their thoughts. And most of them were occasionally glancing outside, and they were all waiting for the rain to stop. And it was no common rain, it was wild. There was a thick, dense fog outside our window, as if there was a wall, a white wall. A wall which allowed you to get through it, like it allowed you to try and pass through it. But in the end, that wall was way too thick to try to even pass. It would take an eternity to pass through that white wall. So a lot of people were worried, and even I was at one point. I still remember the grim look on everyone's faces. Especially, when the evening was settling in, the moment we left ourselves alone with our thoughts, and the fear was creeping in. Like, we all played games throughout the day. We all were talking actively about our experiences. And since we were meeting for the first time, totally random people, strangers, so we had a lot of tales to tell them of our own. And it was really engaging throughout the day, but the moment the evening was settling in, everyone really just took a corner or went to their rooms and just stayed there quiet and silent. And at night they would come for dinner and we would sing songs, and it almost felt like a prayer. Each and every song felt like a prayer. And every time the door opened, we all waited and craved for some good news that would tell us that it is okay to go home now. I still remember how I was constantly narrating a poem by Emily Dickinson to everybody in that common room throughout the week. And one of those verses had this line: "A million men will die and a million snowflakes will fall upon their graves." I totally loved that. It was really dark. This poem, it is not naturally dark, but to use this in that situation was dark. And a lot of people were side-eyeing me for that, but I found it truly beautiful. There was a time when, after 3 days of consecutively raining, the rain had stopped for one brief moment, for 5 minutes. There's just maybe 5 to 10 minutes maximum, and everybody rushed outside to look at the greenery around them. Like the opposite mountain was not visible throughout the week, but for one specific moment, for those 5 minutes, it was visible, and everybody came outside to really view and grasp in what they were really witnessing. Because the world outside Himachal was totally normal. They had no idea what was happening there. But you were in the middle of that chaos. And even in that middle of chaos, that one brief moment of greenery was the yellow thing that could happen to you, the yellow thing. The thing that brings a wide, bright smile to your face. Everybody clicked the picture. Everybody cherished that moment forever. And I still remember, like, there was this one girl who had gone to the washroom and she missed every single second of those 5 minutes and could not really experience or witness the greenery around her, which was pretty rare in that week. So then after a while, everything was white again. It was like the ghosts have occupied the village of Shoja. But I really learned a couple of things from this experience. One was just to go with the flow. Like, you don't really have to plan out every single thing. I know that this sounds really easy to say, but I personally had anxiety about it. Every single time I had to leave my house, I had to have every single thing planned. I wanted to know every single thing that could happen, every combination of life that could exist outside my house. The moment I step outside, what all could happen with me. I needed to know that. And it killed me. A moment of surprise, any bit of change, it just killed me. I had to be prepared. But after this trip of 3 weeks in Himachal, I totally changed my perspective on planning and, whenever you're going or stepping outside in the real world, it totally changed my perspective on that. Now I do not plan anymore. Like, I still am a very well-planned person when I am home and I am working, like I'm working on my website, for example. I have every single thing documented as if it were professional, as if I were building it for my company. And I was getting paid millions for it. And I had to leave no room for error. But I still do that just because I love being so organized with every single thing. And I want every single to be noted down, like what I would achieve in the next 14 days. I have a to-do list for every single day, come on. But even with all of this, I can now truly understand and let that sink in that it is okay to not have an itinerary. It is okay to not have a list of things that you need to do. You can sometimes just let your inner child flow. You can. I know this sounds really poetic and too dreamy, but sometimes it is necessary. Like, I have seen a lot of people who keep constantly pestering me into telling me, like, what are we going to do today? If I'm meeting them, what are we going to do? I'm not sure about it. I just want to see you. I want to meet you, and we'll have conversations. We'll sit somewhere on the road, maybe. We'll do something. We'll just plan it out right away in the moment. And some of the best plans and some of the best things are done and in the heat of the moment, and also some of the worst, but that's the risk you have to take. This is like one very important thing that I have learned, and this has helped me a lot, and it had saved me a lot of time and trouble while traveling. Now I really don't plan anything out. I just pack my bags and leave. What I'm going to do there, like which all places and hidden gems I'm going to explore, which waterfall trek I'm going to do, I do not plan that. I do not plan where I'm going next. I'm just leaving for the first place. That is it. So it has saved me a lot of time and trouble planning it out and forming an itinerary and being a proper travel guide. So now I really appreciate this. And second thing that I've learned from this experience in Shoja is that I am not really scared of social interactions. I am actually pretty good at it. And I learned how to build a community around myself. Even if I am in a room full of strange ass people, totally strangers, now I carry that belief that I will still be able to hold a conversation with them. I will still be able to get out of that room with at least a couple of friends, and I would really connect with them on a different level, on a more deeper level than just random conversations in a cafe. And for me, it was personally very important to get out of the shell of only talking to your friends, only being inside your own circle and never expanding. Because as humans, we crave connection, whether we agree on it or not, whether you guys. I know a lot of people would disagree that they like being alone and they just want to be left alone and they want nothing to do with anybody, but deep down they do crave a connection, and somehow they do want to be understood, maybe in the form of unspoken understanding, but in anything, it could be anything, but they still want to be understood. All of us humans are driven by connection based algorithm that God maybe created billions of years ago. And for all these years I thought I was never a part of this, but now I really feel that I can form a sense of belonging with people. And I personally think that is a great thing, because people give you stories, they give you their memories sometimes, and with every single person that you talk to, you build a face inside your head. Because if you are on the creative side of the world, you are a creator, you write, or you maybe are a photographer or a cinematographer, you really need these stories and faces and memories inside of you which are not your own, but you make them your own, because that is how you make people fall in love with your art. And the third thing that I learned was the right time is now for every single thing. Whether you want to start a podcast, you want to start a YouTube channel, or you want to maybe write a book, this is the right time. There is no better time than this. Before this trip to Shoja, I was always procrastinating about every single thing. I wanted to start writing blogs, I wanted to start a podcast, and I really wanted to get myself out in this world. And I did not do that because I was always worried about something. I was always worried about the right time, and I was always worried about people. But now I really don't give a hell about any single thing, because I know this is my moment and I need to grasp it right away. And if I don't, I might regret it forever. And if I do and it fails, at least I will know it quickly in a brief span of time that this is not worth spending my time on, and I could move on to something else. Because that is the best thing about creative people. And if you're a musician, if you are a painter, everyone on the creative side is always somehow connected in some way. If you sing well and if you're giving music a try and you really fail at it, that's okay. You are a creator, you're an artist in general, and you can always switch to something else. You can go wherever your creativity leads you, and to be at that point, you need to really start in the moment. And to have a proof for you, after that Shoja, I started my own blog. I started working on my website with 220 active users who were just looking at my data, right? Because it offers them nothing. But that was a start. I was always worried to put my own self outside there. Now I've started this podcast, and in the last week, 1200 impressions have been recorded on my Spotify and 130 plays. So which is crazy for me. I'm sure like a lot of YouTubers have these same numbers in just millions, but for me these mean a lot. Like had I never started, I would not have received that one comment in the morning of a winter Sunday which told me that I was really doing great in my podcast, and that really made my day last week. So the right time is now, and it might surprise you. So this was mostly it. I'm not sure how well I was able to narrate the story, but if you have any questions regarding how I travel or wherever I go, how I manage things, you can always free to ask. And any travel experiences that you would love to share, you can always hit me up, and maybe I can also invite you to my podcast, and we can all both talk about it so that the audience can listen to it. So there are a huge number of possibilities with these kind of situations and experiences. That is the most beautiful thing about stories. They're endless, and they should be endless. So this is it, guys. A goodbye from my side, and I'll see you again in the next episode.